Okay, so I'm just starting to get ready to start taking this thing apart and put it in the bags. So how you like your meat, how you cook your meat will dictate how you process your deer. So I'm going to show you how I like to do it and what I like to do with each piece of meat and what kind of recipes go along with that. And I'm going to be very detailed about this. There's going to be several videos coming out over the next probably month. Cooking videos, processing videos, all the way from burger to different kind of roasts, like tons and tons of recipes. We got tons of recipes for this, and which cuts are good for steak and which ones are good for roast and all of that. So, but basically what I'm going to do, I'm out in the woods and have no place to hang this thing up, so we're going to process it on the ground. But I'm just going to split it right up through here, all the way up to the throat, and then from here up the inside of the legs on both sides, around the lower part of the leg, and then peel everything back. And then once I get that done, we'll lay it completely over on this side, and then basically just peel the hide back, and then start taking our chunks off and putting them in game bags. I'm not going to bore you with the skinning and all of that, but I'll kind of break it down step by step as we go through this. First thing I'm going to do is get those tenderloins out of there. Those beautiful pieces of meat right there. So I'll just show you real quick. So it's just a chunk of muscle that these we call tenderloins. This chunk of muscle right here along the spine, and it sits right in this kind of dish here between the spine and these short ribs on the back here. You can see that. So you just cut it off up here. It attaches to the pelvis back here, and then you just take your knife and kind of whittle it out of that cradle that it sits in there. But this is what it looks like when it's out. And there's one on each side. Okay, so I already split this up the leg here. So the next part is going to come around to this side. Put that hook blade in there. Then we're going to try to bring it straight up all the way to the throat. The only downside about this knife is that it cuts a lot of the hair, as you can see. And I hate hair on my venison. But it makes it so much easier. Okay, and then we're gonna split this right down through there, and then just right up to about here, and then we'll take the knife and cut that off and start peeling her off. Okay, so now I'm to the point where I'm just going to lay it over on the opposite side that I'm standing at, and then take the skin around past the center of the spine. And then we'll start taking the quarters off. That's coming along nicely. Okay, we're making some progress here. So now I'm just gonna basically peel the quarters off and cut the ribs out. We'll take the back strap out after we get the quarters off. And then cut the ribs off and flip it over and do the same thing. One other thing really quick, if it was warm, I would be hauling ass doing this. You can't let that meat get warm. It needs to cool off as soon as the animal dies. So if it was warm out here and the sun was shining, this thing would be going in game bags and in a cooler with ice in it as quickly as I possibly could. But it's nice and cool today, and I don't know that the sun will even hit this spot, but you got to keep that meat cool. You can't let it get warm, it'll spoil. You'll ruin it. We're gonna try to continue our magic and leave that testicle on this. So you want to come down to this bone that we split and just start following that bone with your knife. You'll follow it all the way around. It takes a little bit, and of course there's a joint in there, but just take your time. You're going to peel this right off of that pelvis and put it in the bag. And that's one nice thing, if you can keep the hide clean. You can just lay this quarter over on that hide while you're working on it. It makes it a little bit easier when you're doing this by yourself. But don't get in a big hurry unless it's warm. Oops. And these bones are all different shapes in here, so again, just take your time. And the other thing is too, don't worry about leaving that fat on the hide when you're skinning it out. You're not going to use that fat anyways. You can't cook, you can't serve venison with that fat on it. There you go. And that just like that. Let's stretch this game bag over the top of that thing and let's see if we can find a spot to maybe hang this up until we're ready to pack it to the truck so it cools nice. That's so much easier to do with two people, but I hunt by myself, so not an option. On the front one's a little bit easier, but there is kind of a tricky. So you want to cut this through that kind of first layer of muscle there. There's my bullet. Wondered where that thing went to. So the front shoulder's got the shoulder blade, of course, so we're just gonna go around that shoulder blade. And that bullet's in that front shoulder blade, so I want to be careful when I'm cleaning that to dig that bullet out of there. We'll put both the front shoulders in one bag. This guy's not big enough that we need. These bags are pretty stretchy. But the bags, if you're way out and you got to leave this hang in the tree, the bags will keep the bugs and the birds and dirt and crap off it while you're managing your kill. And we'll start one bag for pieces. So there's a little bit of burger meat on that flap that covers the stomach, and we're going to keep that. Keep everything. We're just gonna take this right along. So this is, you're starting to see your back strap right there. Right up to the bottom of the ribs. And then we're just gonna follow those ribs around. So this piece, I don't know, you might be able to salvage some. There's a couple good chunks in there. But this fat and stuff needs to go. You can't use that. And I'll show you, you can use that for burger, but it also makes really good jerky. And I'll show you a little trick that I started doing with jerky that allows you to use a lot more pieces for jerky. But this fat is, can't use that. It's got to go. We'll cut it off when we process, but this will be our bag for pieces. Okay, so we'll take the back strap out next, which is this solid chunk of meat that runs the full length of the spine right down to the top of the pelvis here. This is one of the more choice cuts in my opinion. But you're just gonna cut right where that line is, you can see it, and then follow the ribs and then where the top of the spine is. So it just sits in kind of this cradle in between the ribs and the spine. So I've got this off the ribs, and you can see this is a completely separate piece of meat. So when you're cutting this off, if you can get right in between these muscle groups, you're gonna come out with just a beautiful chunk of meat. But you just follow the ribs down to the spine. Now I'm gonna take the knife and find the edge of the spine and finish cutting this thing out. Okay, we're about halfway done here. Oh man, don't kid yourself, that's a lot of work. On to side two, doing the exact same thing. I'm just gonna stretch this hide out and flip him over to keep the inside of what I'm cutting off there clean. Okay, second side skinned out. So same thing, I'll just cut that hind quarter and front shoulder off, take the back strap, cut the ribs out. Although I don't know, there's not much left of the ribs. But then we'll take the neck meat but at least I didn't hit the front shoulder. I shoot a 300 Win Mag, which is a little overkill for deer, but because I hunt a lot in bear and grizzly country, I'm keeping my Win Mag, my 300. But get these bagged up with the rest, and we're getting close to start loading stuff in the truck. I managed to make the magic happen and managed to keep both of the testicles physically attached to the inside of each hind quarter, which for transport is the law here in BC and probably a lot of other places now too. So just be careful when you put it in the game bag and make sure it stays attached. Okay, let's get my, damn it, I forgot a bag for those. I'm packing all my gear back down to the truck. It's not far enough that I need to worry about using my pack to carry all this stuff out, so I'm just gonna make a couple trips and pack it down. I'm only 100 yards from the truck, but timing's good. Sun's starting to come out. It's a beautiful spot here. It's even prettier with some blood on it. I'm not going to take those other set of ribs, they're bloodshot bad. Unfortunately, I didn't hit the shoulder. But taking home some meat, my wife's going to be super happy. Okay, time to finish up. Home, getting ready to put this stuff in the fridge downstairs. I don't have time to work on it today, but I'm not going to leave it in the game bags. It's good for it to air out and cool off initially, but if you leave it in the game bags, the outside of the meat's going to dry a lot. So I'm just going to put it in garbage bags. I'll throw it in the fridge downstairs, let it rest for a couple days until I have time to work on it.